and we were discussing like our investment, outlook right now of the current market. And the general concern was how that he shared was, how long can the markets go up, and are you selling? Kind of what's the outlook for reducing or minimizing your risk when your portfolios have gone up, 20, 30, 40% over the last year. What's the strategy for reducing the downside risk if you feel like the market is overvalued, or there's going to be a serious correction or a stock market recession. So that got me thinking of what are alternatives to just selling, positions that you have in your portfolio. Because most of my clients I have right now, they're really in the growth stage, and so we want to grow portfolios over time, and so finding ways beyond just selling your assets and selling your allocations. I think that can be useful for the overall long-term growth of the portfolio. If you have other strategies outside of just selling. So that got me thinking. What are some short or downward directional you know ETFs that could be utilized for that scenario to take advantage of the stock market that's starting to go down. So just doing some research. Here I'm on my Schwab Advisor platform. Just researching some different ETFs, and I set the price date. I set it for for lowest to highest, so showing the lowest first. And basically, what that would do is that would show your worst performing ETFs first. And in a market where we've had strong upward movement over the last since March, April, when the tariff news came out. Um, you know, ETFs, or really stocks, or anything that has a short strategy. And by short, we mean that means that you're looking for the price of an asset to go down. That's when you short. If you've seen a Big Short, that's a really good movie that breaks down, the short strategies and at a macro view, and then that's concentrated in real estate. But those same strategies can be utilized, in different spaces in the market through different avenues, not just real estate. You can do it in stocks, individual stocks. You can do it through ETFs. There's a lot of ways you can incorporate that strategy. Granted, it is a very risky strategy. One of the risks of shorting an asset is it's going to have a holding cost, because shorting anything requires that you borrow it, the asset or against the asset, and that's going to come with some type of holding cost or some type of fee, with it. What people are most familiar with is shorting stocks through options. And actually, let me see if I can pull up an option while I'm sitting here talking. So whenever you're looking at options, this right here, your theta, that is going to be your time decay. So as you can see, data shows the price of an option will change in a day. In other words, it shows the effect of time decay. So, if I were to bias, if I'm thinking that the stock market is going to go down over the next month, So I'm gonna buy, an option on SPY. I would have to, this, whatever the theta is, that's gonna reduce the value of my option every day, despite whatever the price action does. Now, if the price action goes up fast, then, if the price action goes down like I want it to, then the theta isn't going to matter. If it goes down fast, if it goes down slowly, like that's another thing when you're doing with options, like the price has to move in the direction that you want it to at a pace that outpaces theta. And if it doesn't, then you're not really the option really isn't doing anything for you, or it's just that holding cost is just eating into your value of the it's just eating into the value of the option. So that's something to consider. What I'm looking into is I want to see if the holding cost for oh no, that is what I wanted. I want to see the holding costs for an a short ETF or inverse ETF, if that's going to be lower or not even present in the ETF, which it may or may not. But that's why we have to do this research. All right, so here's a list of your worst performing inverse or short ETFs. So let me click on one of these, and you can see, the year to date, like we already covered, how they're all struggling right now. Because the market has been so hot, and maybe we'll be here. Risk and tax, pre-liquidation. To understand, this is the due diligence that you want to have, because someone could just say, "Hey, go and buy, a short ETF," and honestly, like anybody, anybody suggesting you to buy any leverage product, I would never listen to them again. That's just not sound advice, to just tell people to go blindly buy any leverage product. So here it says ETNs, which are exchange traded notes, which are inverse which are simplified version is an inverse ETF, but the distinction between an ETN or ETP and ETF is that these are created by debt instruments backed by the credit of the issuer, and so these can be basically an ETN can be called and and you could lose everything because it's backed by a debt instrument. And that's the risk of using anything that's leveraged. And in order to short, you have to leverage. That's that's how you create a short product, or a product that can short an asset is through leverage. So I don't have our answer about holding costs, but we do have additional information about just the overall risk, and understanding how you could lose the value of it relatively fast. Risk products, reduced risk, is not a credit product, so that's a good thing that we see here. You don't have the same risk of a what was the other one? Exchange traded note, exchange traded product. I think it was exchange traded ET. I think it was exchange traded note. So leverage ETF doesn't have that. Still not saying anything. You do have a higher expense ratio. That is one thing I'm seeing. And that could be because of the higher, because the holding cost for the people that made this. Oh, it's a digital. What was this on? Oh, it's on ETH. It's inverse ETH. Okay. So like this could be something that I look at when I feel like the crypto bull run is about over. Yeah, this is a leveraged. This is leveraged against Ethereum. But yeah, you're seeing higher expense ratios. I feel like most of the times you're looking at an ETF, and definitely most of the bigger ETFs, you're not seeing very high fees for those. Let's find another one. That's another Ethereum. Is this an inverse MicroStrategy? Yeah, this is an inverse MicroStrategy. Let's see. Are you actual ETF or something else? This is like an ETF. It's not a note or a product. Let's see what the fee is. Ooh, expense ratio 1.3. What does this have? It's got 6 holdings. Okay. Okay. So this shows you deposit with broker for short positions. So that that shows what I was talking about earlier. How you have to have you have to you have to leverage those positions. You have to leverage in order to create a short product. And then this right here, yeah, that's the thing. What are they called? That's the swap, and that's the product. This is the product that actually creates a short strategy. So that's these two right here are kind of what shows you the holding costs. Like this, in order, I don't know what institution made this for them. MarXS. Let me see if I can look that up. So yeah, this is an institution. They employ dynamic, passionate, yada yada yada. Yeah. So that's the company, Marex. They're the company. They're the institution that created the swap, and so whoever created this Defiance, um, this Defiance inverse ETF, they're having to pay for it. So the good thing that it looks like the result of that is that there isn't necessarily a holding cost for this, but it does have the higher fee. Like you're at 1.3. And compare that to, let me see, the holding, like the fee of, let me go to like one of the bigger just overall ETFs. It might not even show it on here. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. Expense ratio. It's at 0.03. So you're like the Vanguard ETF is 0.03 and the inverse ETF is um, is 1.3. And you can see the other one was at like 0.99. So these do have higher, these do have, I guess you call it a holding cost. Um, you know, that's that's basically what it is. Let's see what else. So um, these are just things to look at. I'll probably keep going over some of these. See if I can find one that I'm kind of more comfortable with. Like this is an option strategy, a short option strategy. So I'm assuming that they're going to use that. If we look into the holdings, it won't be a swap. It'll be, I guess they just buy options. See, once again, you see the high expense ratio. Remember, Vanguard ETF is 0.03. And this is one. Let's see. Oh yeah, they just buy. Okay, at least they buy some calls with it. um, let's see. Call, put. Yeah, this is pretty good insight. You got the deposit for the short position. So I would say if you were looking to short the market, an option to explore and to minimize your risk, I think these, ETFs and well, I would say ETF, not a ETP or ETN, but an actual ETF. I think um, that could be a better strategy than just going out and buying a short. Now, granted, with that also, um, if you buy the put, if you buy the put option yourself, you do stand a, you have the possibility for higher gains than these ETFs. Um, but you also have a higher risk, and you also have the holding cost of data, reducing every day. So those are things to consider. Do you want to get an ETF, or do you want to just buy a outright short option for it? So that's my brainstorming session. I'll I think I'll just call that. I'll make a new series of like investment brainstorms, just ideas I have and some of the research that I do behind it. Um, you know, Definitely no financial advice, no investment advice, um, just brainstorming. That's it. Um, yeah. So, uh, yeah, that's it.